Nothing in this podcast is meant for medical advice. Please discuss your own healthcare with your healthcare providers. Thank you. Welcome to your B-side, your midlife metamorphosis. I'm your host, Dr. Amy Lindsey. Midlife is not a crisis, it's a catalyst to your best life. Join me each week for a dose of mental, physical, and spiritual health, life, grief, adventure, and opportunity. It's time to flip the record over. When our health and our life intersect, magic happens. I'm Dr. Amy Lindsey, your host of Welcome to Your B-Side, your midlife metamorphosis. Today, I'm so excited because I have a very special guest on the podcast who happens to be a client of mine in my Chrysalis program. And my Chrysalis program is a 6-month container where we work with our life purpose and our health, and we create that kind of magic. And all of us in this program are out to change the world. And we all understand it starts internally with us first. So as a doctor, I learned over years and years and years of clinical practice, of telehealth practice, of doing what I call, quote, just doctoring, that a lot of what I was asking people to do involved big habit changes, life changes, mindset changes, and I saw that it was very difficult for people to do if we were simply just showing up, doing our diagnostics, doing our protocols. It was really hard for people to make such big, profound changes in their health without doing some of that inner work. So I started creating programs where I had groups where we started working on life questions. We started asking those bigger questions. And when I figured out to synthesize life purpose or a sense of purpose with health, that's when the magic started. That's when big changes and big wins for my clients started to happen. So I am so excited to introduce Tiffany Stith, who is one of my clients in the Chrysalis program. She's also the president and chief operating officer of Lawry's Restaurants. She is a powerhouse, a queen bee, and she is a dynamite storyteller, writer, creative. She loves music, she loves people, and she's just been a joy to have in my life and in my programs. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you, Dr. Amy. The joy is definitely mine with you and all of the people that you attract to this pretty magical program.
Yeah, so tell me about that. I would love for people to try to wrap their heads around what the hell we're doing in the Chrysalis, because we make jokes that it's our secret little coven. We make all kinds of inside jokes with each other. But I think, a lot of people hesitate to join a group program. And then once they join the group program and once they join Chrysalis, their minds are blown at how much connection they have with other people, how many best friends they make, and what community they discover. So if you don't mind, why don't you tell me maybe your story arc of going from an individual patient to joining the Chrysalis program, and what that change was for you, what that metamorphosis was for you. Ever notice how weird we are about our health and our money? We are over here counting numbers for both, and in a vicious cycle that is taking us from our joy. It's time to break this cycle. Join me for Wealth, WELLTH, a 3-part masterclass to illuminate how your relationship to your health matches your relationship to abundance. Go to dramylindsey.com/wealth. That's DRAMYLINDSEY.com/WELLTH to learn more.
Sure. I mean, for me, I have to be honest and say that I started out as an individual patient. It was really still almost just post-pandemic. And I really didn't want anything to do with a group program. It didn't sound appealing to me. Like, I had health goals. I knew what I wanted to get from a personal health perspective out of the relationship. And when you started talking to me about putting a group together, I thought, I don't think that's for me. I don't live in the area. I'm not going to get together with people to work on my health goals. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And the really funny part is that I said yes anyway because it was, you were compelling about it. You were compelling about the way you talked about working with other people. And I had enough trust in my relationship with you at that point that it made sense to give it a go. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I always say the best decision I ever made was marrying my husband, but this is pretty close to number two, if we're really honest. And that sounds a little crazy. I feel like when I start talking to people about it, I always start out by saying, I have not joined a cult. But by the time I get to the end of the story and I talk about my women's group and I talk about what we do, and I might say something like, if somebody ever asks if you want to bring your journal and go hike in the forest and maybe cry a little bit and plan your life, like the answer should be yes, you should definitely do that. So I
Yes.
might talk about it flippantly, but at the end of those conversations, what people always say to me is, I wish I had a group like that.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
would
super
say
valuable.
Chrysalis is special. And I would say that me leading these programs and putting them together, what I was hoping for is that people would understand that they're not alone, that they're not alone in their health struggles, they're not alone in their life struggles, and that they could really have accountability buddies. That was kind of the idea, like, make sure people understand they're not alone, and then make sure that everybody has an accountability buddy, right? So they actually get their shit done. That was kind of my thought process. And what it's grown to be is so much more than that. I feel like there's true connection and magic in these groups these Chrysalis groups. I feel like people really find like soul companions, soul sisters. I mean, we're open to all genders. We tend to attract mostly femme forward human beings. But why don't you tell me a little bit about the community you've gained in the Chrysalis and how that's contributed to not only your health, but to your life in general and your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this piece of chrysalis that is hard to explain if you're not explaining it holistically. So I think I'm going to start big picture and drill down. So for me, I thought it was about health change. I didn't know it was about life change. And I don't know that if I had started with life change, I would have gone all in, right? Life change sounds
Mhm.
big, it sounds scary. It's the intersection of a lot of things, right? It's the intersection of discomfort in your life and whatever that looks like for you and for whatever reason that you're bumping up against that. I mean, I think if you're in midlife, there's a certain amount of discomfort just because what got you here won't get you where you want to go. And you don't know where you want to go, right? Like you start with this vague sense of, this isn't exactly where I want to be, but I should be happy with it. I should be proud of it. I should be, all of these things. And it takes a lot of digging into that stuff and trusting yourself and valuing yourself and getting to what you really desire, care about, or are passionate about. And for me, I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't even know that I wasn't doing it. I was just
Mm.
taking the next indicated step, right? I'm somebody who has, for much of my life, taken the next indicated step, and that's a survival set, that's a skill set, that's a talent set that had really worked for me. But all of a sudden, it wasn't working the same way anymore, and it looked from the outside like something that I wanted, but it didn't feel on the inside like something that I wanted.
Mhm. Hey, this is Dr. Amy Lindsey, your host of Welcome to Your B-Side, your midlife metamorphosis YouTube channel and podcast. If you want to be more involved with my B-Side community, you can join on School. That's SKOOL. You can join my school community. Look me up, Dr. Amy Lindsey. Welcome to Your B-Side and request to join. Okay, so a lot of what we do in the Chrysalis is I'm trying to help people develop their muscle of self trust. And I feel like this is for everybody. This is not just for cis women, this is for everybody. side A of our life, right? This is welcome to your B side, but I feel like side A of your life is this status quo, that it's external validation, that we're following our models of society or status quo thinking or what we think is supposed to make us happy. And but when we get to midlife, we're not feeling it internally, like you said. Like your internal compass isn't quite matching the external expression. And this, to me, is the crux of chronic stress. And this, to me, is the crux of people's health going sort of. I feel like at midlife, health can kind of go one way or the other. Like you can sort of have that moment where you're going to do something to make sure you go down a healthy road for the second half of your life, or you're going to keep piling on and get overwhelmed with a lot of like health issues. So for you, being in this community, how do you feel like you came to that sense of self-trust where you could start shifting your health and your life?
Interesting trajectory that I wouldn't have thought would be the one. So for me, I would have I wouldn't have never guessed that the access for self-trust for me was through trusting a group and through trusting other people who are on the same trajectory or interested in doing the same work. We're not all doing the same thing for sure, but there is this community of watching other people do hard things that inspires you to feel like you too can do hard things. And even if you know you can do hard things, it makes you do the hard things that are the least comfortable, but the most important.
Mhm.
And I think being able to kind of lock arms with people who are in the same place, who are doing the same thing, and develop those trust relationships and develop those connections and have an accountability buddy that every day I'm saying, like, I got up and I did what I was supposed to. I did what I was committed to doing this morning before my day started. Or I didn't do all of it, but I'm going to do it by the end of the day. I'm being accountable to myself because I'm being accountable to another person. And we're helping each other be accountable in the world. And all of that is building on bigger goals for health,
Mhm.
for life. I mean, the sneaky little answer in all of this that I'm pretty sure you knew from the beginning, but I had to find out was that all of this stuff is integrated, right? Like I thought I had health goals. I didn't realize I had life goals. I didn't realize I had goals around my bigger career. I didn't realize I had goals around my bigger relationships in my life. I didn't recognize all of those things as connected to each other. I had them very nicely partitioned off into little boxes. And all of those boxes start to disintegrate, and everything just ends up in a big pile in the middle of the floor, and then you got to sort through it.
Yeah, it is all integrated, and being an integrative practitioner, I could no longer ignore this, right? And that people will say to me, "Well, can you just doctor me?" And I say, "No. No, I can't actually. It doesn't have integrity for me because it's like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once I've figured this out, once I see how much people's health improves and their life improve and they're finally being who they're supposed to be in this world and they're connecting to, a sense of spirituality. They're connecting to an inner voice, connecting to intuition, and they're starting to completely transform their lives and their health, and you see that it's connected and it's magic. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your own career changes, your health changes, and even like anything in your relationships that you feel comfortable sharing from kind of a before, and I wouldn't say after because we're still doing the chrysalis, but more
Yeah,
like
we still
up
in
until
it.
this point. We still got work to do. We're still doing stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think coming into this group, I would have said I'm really sort of at the pinnacle of my career, right? This is a place, a role, a responsibility, a leadership opportunity that maybe I wasn't even ever looking for, but that came my way and I took it and I've loved it. And I'd been in the role at that point probably 5 years. and with the organization 15, and thought, this is really what I was striving for, or what people in my place in life are striving for, is maybe a better characterization of it. So it felt like I had done the thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the external version. The internal version felt like, why doesn't this feel more internally satisfying
Mm-hmm.
to me than it is? And how ungrateful am I?
Mm.
How there was a whole lot of self-judgment about how I should feel about it versus how I did feel about it. And none of that is to discount it in any way. I have so much gratitude for my career trajectory, for the people who've put their faith in me, for the teams that I've gotten to lead, the teams that I still get to lead are the best part. But the big picture of how that was aligning with my inner purpose, or maybe my inner passion, or getting really honest with myself about what my gifts are and how I want to deploy them in the world, is where the misalignment came in. And no one could have told me that in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
because there was too much in the way of it. There was too much lack of trusting myself to even know what that was,
Mm.
or unwillingness to identify that stuff or look at it. And that's that what you've done to get here isn't going to get you there. The tools that you've had, the survival skills, even the talents that have gotten you this far. And for me, it was about deconstructing some of that and getting really honest about being able to trust that inner voice for myself and say, there's something beyond this, and that's okay. And there's risk to that, but with risk comes excitement, with risk comes motivation, with risk comes it's I want to call it autonomy, but it's not. It's agency. I think it's
Mm.
agency, right? Really about feeling like you're in the driver's seat of your own life, and you're not fitting in, right? Because fitting in is so inauthentic,
Mm-hmm.
and belonging is the piece, right? Like, ooh, this is hard, but fitting in feels like the precursor to belonging, and it's belonging's enemy, because belonging is authentic and
Yeah.
fitting in is about everybody else. So fitting in is the A side and
Right.
belonging is the B side. And
Yes.
belonging is in community and
Yes.
self-trust.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I couldn't have said it better myself. Would you say that in figuring this out, because a lot of what you're talking about has to do with your career and, well, wait everybody to see what Tiffany does in the world, because she's up to some big things, but there is a career change coming for her. I will not spoil it for everybody yet, but you should keep an eye on this one. And would you say that your health has also improved since you've been aligning with purpose?
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is how intertwined and interconnected and interdependent this all is, right? And I can talk about the career stuff most comfortably because that's the intellectual part where my brain lives, and that's just how I work. But the reality of it is that there is a huge health shift in my life. There is a huge health component of feeling like a healthy person, of getting to be a healthier person, of being a physically stronger person than I probably have ever been in my life in my mid 50s, which almost doesn't reconcile in my brain.
Yeah. Because don't we think, there's this kind of shitty negative connotation to getting older that,
Yeah.
oh, the slide is going to start, or, oh, it's just downhill from here. And that is like the exact opposite of what has been going on with you.
Yeah, it really is, and it's really funny because, I have those friends in my world that who will call me and say, "Well, this happened to this person, and this is just about getting older. That's where we are in life. People are dying, and People are getting hurt and people's health isn't as good as it used to be. And it's like, yeah, and some of that's a choice and some of that's not. But what are we going to do about it?
That's
And
right.
you only have a couple of those conversations and they stop calling you with that stuff anymore because they don't want to hear it. But or they really do and they figure it out for themselves. But for me, that trajectory has been really good. And being at a place at 54 that feels really strong and really powerful also feels like it gives me the strength to do the other hard work in my life that I need to be doing right now. Because you say it a lot, mental health is physical health is mental health is physical health. And it is, right? If we struggle with mental health, improving our physical health can oftentimes really change the trajectory of that. And for me, it has. For me, it has.
Yes.
And it's given me the strength to do the bigger mental work.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast and telling your story and telling everyone about your experience with Chrysalis. I just have one more question before we go. So, Chrysalis is something I have a wait list for, and I'm going to put that in the show notes and in all the emails and all the socials and everything. So everybody will have a link to the wait list. It is also a program that I do discovery calls for, right? I don't just open the door to anyone who's willing to pay for it, right? Because I'm looking for people who are ready. What would you say to someone to be ready for it? Even if they like, what am I trying to get at? A lot of people don't feel ready, but they are ready, right? And when I do discovery calls with people, I ask kind of the appropriate questions to have them figured out and to trust themselves, right? Like I'm all about self-trust, right? I'm not going to tell you you've got to come to the conclusion yourself. But what would you say to people about doing this program who, they're on the cusp of doing something like this, but they're still not quite sure? And what would you say to them?
Such an intersection of factors in your life. And I think it's hard to know, but I think it's this intersection of discomfort with where you are, which I think is a pretty natural product of midlife in a lot of ways. So that one's not hard. But it's discomfort, curiosity about that discomfort, curiosity about what could change it. And I want to say self-trust because you have to trust yourself enough to know that you're on the right path and that this is the right path for you, or that getting happier, getting closer to what you're passionate about, getting closer to your joy really is really important to you. And that you're willing to do the hard work to do that and kind of to get into the hot tub with some other people who are willing to do this work too and lock arms and do it together, right?
Yes.
So it's this intersection of a lot of things, but I think you have to know for yourself, are you experiencing enough discomfort? Do you see enough potential joy in your future? Can you imagine that? Can you close your eyes and envision that? Even if you don't know what it looks like, do you want it?
Mhm.
Because you've got to want that more than what you've got. Inertia is a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. Inertia is a powerful thing, and you've got to want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to want it more than sitting in what you've got now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Welcome to your B side, your midlife metamorphosis with me, your host, Dr. Amy Lindsey. This has been a lovely conversation with Chrysalis participant and member Tiffany Stith, who is also the president and chief operating officer of Lawry's Restaurants. She's an incredible storyteller, writer, creative human being, and I just love you to death. And so thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. Get on my wait list for the Chrysalis cohort coming up January 2026. Goodbye. This has been another episode of Welcome to Your B-Side, your midlife metamorphosis with Dr. Amy Lindsey. Be sure to follow along and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.